Today I will tell you 3 scary night drive stories. Story 1. Don't drive to Arizona after dark. A couple weeks back, I decided to take a road trip down to Arizona. It was a haul, one that'd normally stretch across 2 days unless I pushed myself to drive straight through the night. I was itching to get there though, so I figured I'd power through and cut the journey short. The drive kicked off without a hitch. I've been cruising south for a few hours, feeling pretty solid. My playlist was blasting through the speakers, and I had a stash of energy drinks chilling in a cooler on the seat next to me. When I passed a sign that read, "Welcome to Kentucky," I grinned, thinking I was absolutely flying. Time must have slipped away from me, though, because before I knew it, the sun was dipping below the horizon. It caught me off guard. I'd started out mid-morning, so the early dusk didn't quite add up. I brushed it off, blaming the tunes and my wandering thoughts for messing with my sense of time. What really threw me, though, was the empty highway stretching out ahead. You'd expect a steady stream of cars, folks heading somewhere, anywhere, but it was just me out there. Still, I wasn't ready to call it quits. I'd already set my mind on driving through the night, weird vibes or not. As I pressed on, the sun vanished way too fast, plunging the world into an inky black. My headlights barely cut through it, lighting up maybe 10 feet of road at a time. Guardrails and the occasional mile marker flickered into view, but beyond that, nothing. If something stepped out in front of me, I'd have no chance to swerve. So I eased off the gas and pulled onto the shoulder. The car rolled to a stop, and I flicked on my hazard lights. It wasn't fog, just a thick, suffocating darkness, heavier than anything I'd ever seen. I sat there, half expecting another set of headlights to pierce the void and prove I wasn't alone. 20 minutes ticked by. Not a single vehicle roared past. I cracked my window, hoping the cool air would calm my nerves. I was starting to feel the pressure. I had somewhere to be, and this delay was eating into my schedule. Then, out of nowhere, my engine died. No sputter, no warning, just silence. Even the dashboard lights blinked out. I smacked the steering wheel in frustration, like that had somehow jolt it back to life. It didn't. A faint sound cut through the quiet. A tapping, like someone drumming their nails on a hard surface. Not soft, not fleshy, but sharp and deliberate. My gut told me it was coming from under the hood. I'd have to step out to check, but just as my hand brushed the door handle, I froze. A pale hand dangled over the edge of my open window. I yelped and threw myself across the console, landing awkwardly on the cooler. The hand kept tapping, its long fingers brushing the inside of my door. My heart was hammering, but after a second, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe someone saw my hazards and stopped to help. It was a stretch. I hadn't heard another car pull up, but I clung to the thought. "Hello, who's out there?" I called, my voice shaky. The tapping stopped. The hand slid out of sight, vanishing below the window frame. I held my breath, waiting. "Hey, who's there? What's your deal?" I tried again. Silence. Not even the wind answered. I twisted around to check the back window. Nothing but black. My ear was pressed against the passenger glass now, and just as I started to shift back, the tapping started again, right by my head. I whipped around so fast my neck twinged. No hand this time, but smudged fingerprints streaked the condensation on the glass. My pulse raced as I fumbled to roll the window up, only to remember the power was shot. Then came the crunch of footsteps on the gravel outside. I darted my eyes to the mirrors, empty, until my headlights flared to life on their own. They blazed ahead, spotlighting a figure standing smack in the middle of the beams. A human shape, but no head. Just a torso, one arm raised with its thumb out, like it was hitching a ride. It held the pose for a beat before shambling toward me. I jammed the key in the ignition. Nothing. The headlights were on, so why wouldn't the car start? I jiggled the key, desperate as the thing closed in. Its walk was jerky, uneven, like its legs didn't quite fit together. My window was still down. Why hadn't I rolled it up? But it wouldn't budge now, even with the power flickering. It reached the driver's side fender. I grabbed the door handle, ready to bolt and face it head on, but the lock wouldn't give. The manual pin was sunk too low to grip, and the electronic button was useless. My only way out was the window, but it was already at my mirror. No chance I'd squeeze through without it snagging me. I slid back to the passenger seat, feet braced to kick if it tried to climb in. Up close, I could see it, a tall, lanky frame in a tattered green jacket, jeans shredded and streaked with what looked like skid marks, like it had been dragged under a semi. It lunged an arm inside. I lashed out, my heel catching its wrist. It stumbled back, clumsy and slow, giving me a second to breathe. But it came again, and this time I drove my foot into its chest, sending it sprawling onto the pavement. I scrambled out the window, darted to the trunk. Useless without the keys still dangling in the ignition, and froze as it started to rise. A splitting pain erupted in my skull, like my brain was being crushed. My vision swam, my arms and legs locked up, burning like they were on fire. I couldn't move. It shuffled closer, thumb still out, the other hand limp at its side. Then, all at once, the paralysis snapped, and I lurched to the other side of the car. On instinct, I dove back inside, twisted the key, and the engine roared to life. I didn't question it. I floored it, peeling away into the night. The road stayed pitch black, but I kept going, chest heaving. Part of me wondered if it was just a lost spirit begging for a lift. That thought evaporated fast. A mile later, there was again, standing on the shoulder, thumb out. I sped past, refusing to look back. The clock glowed midnight. Perfect. I gripped the wheel tighter, pushing the speedometer higher. Then it appeared again, stepping into the road this time. I swerved, heart in my throat, and caught a glimpse in the mirror. For a split second, I thought it was in my back seat, but a quick check showed nothing. The next time I saw it, it was clutching something in its other hand. I squinted as I flew by. A head, grinning ear to ear. I nearly blacked out. Before I could process it, a heavy thud slammed onto my roof. I jolted, staring up at the ceiling as something shifted above me. The window, still open, my own dumb mistake betrayed me. The noise stopped, and then a face swung into view. The head, leering at me, held by the body perched on my roof. I shouted as it flung the head inside. It latched onto my arm, teeth sinking in. Its cackle filled the car as I swerved, smashing my fist against it until it let go. I snatched it by the hair and hurled it out the window. The darkness lifted like a curtain. In my mirror, I saw the head bounce down the highway, the body tumbling off my roof to join it. Other cars appeared, their headlights a lifeline. I was shaking, my arm throbbing, but I didn't stop until I hit the next town and found a motel. The clerk at the desk, a wiry guy with a buzz cut, took one look at me and said, "You okay, buddy? You're white as a sheet." There was something on the road. I rasped. A body, no head. It came after me. He chuckled, shaking his head. "You kids and your wild tales." Though, now that you mention it, some trucker said the same thing a while back. My stomach flipped. What happened? Nothing. Cops checked it out. No sign of anything. Guy left the next day, and that was it. I mumbled a response, got my key, and patched up my arm in the room. It wasn't deep, just a nasty bite. I barely slept, hitting the road again at dawn. Here's my advice. Don't drive to Arizona at night. I can't pin down what triggered it, but something about that trip unleashed that nightmare. The clerk's story makes me think it's happened before. And when I went to leave the motel, a fresh handprint was smeared across my driver's window. Daylight driving only from now on. Stay safe out there. Story 2. Stay in your car after dark, no matter what you see. Back when I was a 17-year-old bundle of angst, I had a blowout fight with my dad one chilly night. It was the usual teenage nonsense, him not getting me stomping around like the world owed me something. I bolted out of the house, planning to just walk it off, but the biting cold and thick darkness outside hit me like a wall. So I slunk back past Dad, snatched my car keys off the counter, muttered something about hitting up a burger barn run, and stormed out again, making sure the door rattled behind me. I slid into my beat-up, mustard yellow Toyota Corolla. The thing was ancient, and the heater wheezed like it was on its last legs. I cranked my moody playlist loud enough to drown out my thoughts and peeled out onto the quiet streets. It took me about 15 minutes to roll up to the Burger Barn drive-thru, but I was still too wound up to eat. Instead, I decided to take a long, winding drive to cool off. Just 20 minutes away was a twisty, pitch-black road called Raven's Drop, a narrow path that snaked down a steep canyon to a little reservoir with a rickety one-lane bridge. If that doesn't sound eerie enough, the locals swore it had a dark history tied to a missing hiker whose backpack turned up there years ago, a case that still gave people chills. I knew Raven's Drop like the back of my hand. Dad used to take me there to practice driving, especially at night, saying it'd toughen me up for tricky roads. So, as I started down the descent, I wasn't fazed until I rounded one of those sharp hairpin bends. My headlights swept across the asphalt, and there it was, a dark, lumpy-shaped smack in the middle of the lane. I flinched, figuring it was just a roadkill deer or something. But as I crept closer, my high beams caught it fully, and my stomach flipped. It wasn't an animal. It was a baby car seat, draped with a blanket over the front. I slammed on the brakes, and the Corolla groaned like it was about to give up entirely. I sat there, gripping the wheel, staring at the thing. No way was I getting out. It was probably just some trash seat someone ditched, right? I wasn't about to play hero over garbage. I eased my foot off the brake, ready to roll past, when a sound cut through the air. I turned down my music, but the engine's racket muddled everything. I cracked my window an inch and strained to listen. It hit me like a punch, a baby's wail. Not just crying, but a full-on desperate shriek that made my skin crawl. I fumbled with my seatbelt, popped the lock, and grabbed the door handle, then stopped dead. Something shifted in the corner of my vision, just beyond the reach of my headlights, lurking in the scrub along the road. I eased my hand off the handle and sank back into my seat, my brain racing. Dad's voice echoed in my head. Never stop the car at night, kid. If it looks like trouble, keep going and call someone who's paid to deal with it. You're not the cavalry, just a scrawny teenager who can barely haul groceries. But that cry, it was so real. A helpless little baby, I thought. What if something's out there, stalking it? I cracked the door open, and the car let out a shrill creak. Whatever was in the bushes jolted, twigs snapped, leaves rustled. I yanked the door shut, floored the gas, and tore up the canyon, tires squealing on the turns. A few bends later, I fished my phone out. No bars. Raven's Drop was a dead zone. I didn't stop until I hit the top, where the road spilled back into civilization. I pulled over under a street light, hands shaking, and dialed the cops. I blurted out what I'd seen, the car's seat, the crying, the movement in the dark. The dispatcher's voice was calm but firm. Go home now. Don't stop for anything. Lock your doors. We'll check it out and call you tomorrow. Try not to panic. I barely slept that night. replaying it all in my head. The next morning, the phone rang, sheriff's department out of nearby Carsonville. The officer thanked me for the tip, then dropped a bomb. They'd heard of this before. Some creeps had been setting up baby seats on remote roads, rigging them with speakers blaring distress cries, all to trick people, usually young women, into stepping out of their cars. The ambush that followed was brutal. Victims dragged off, roughed up, robbed, and left stranded after the perps took off in their cars. The cops had checked Raven's Drop that night. The culprits were gone, but in their haste, they'd left behind the blanket I'd described, a faded green one with tiny yellow stars. You did the smart thing, getting out of there, the officer said. Never leave your car at night, no matter what's out there trying to pull you in. I've driven Raven's Drop plenty of times since, but never after dark. My girlfriend's been bugging me to take her down there some night this week. She wants pics of how spooky it is for her blog. I told her fine, but the doors are staying locked tight. Stay safe, folks. Don't let anything lure you out into the shadows. Story 3. A late-night drive I'll never forget. Hey, real quick, dude. Could you help me with something before I head out? The cashier, a lanky guy in his early 20s with a patchy beard, glanced up from bagging my snacks, a bag of pretzels, a couple of root beers, and a pack of Camels. He paused, hand hovering over the plastic bag, then shrugged. Sure, what's up? I let out a quiet breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. I'd half expected him to brush me off. Relieved, I dug into my jacket pocket and pulled out a folded road map, spreading it across the counter between us. I got a little turnaround out here. Took a late-night drive to clear my head, and these back roads totally threw me off. Could you show me where we are and how to get back to the highway? He stared at me for a beat, then cracked a grin that turned into a full-on chuckle. Bro, a paper map? Are you serious? What is this, the 80s? I sighed, already regretting this. I figured a guy his age would give me grief, and here we were. He wiped his eyes, still snickering. Don't you have GPS or something? I jerked a thumb toward the window, where my faded blue Datsun 510 sat under the gas station's flickering lights. Not in a 76 model, man. He peered past me at the car, probably itching to crack another joke, but mercifully kept it to himself. Instead, he leaned over the map, still smirking, and scanned it. After a moment, he tapped the paper with a triumphant, "Aha! Still got it." His finger landed near the center. We're about here, maybe 8 miles outside of Elton. I bent closer as he pulled his hand back, grabbing a pen from my pocket to circle the spot. Elton, huh? I traced the lines radiating out. Looks like a few roads could take me back to Highway 12, right? He nodded, already looking bored with me. Yeah, whatever works, he muttered, sliding my bag goods onto the map. That's $12.75 for the stuff, $25 even for the gas. I fished out my wallet, handed him 2 20s, and pocketed the change he gave back after the register dinged. Tucking the wallet away, I gathered the bag and refolded the map. Thanks, man, I said, heading for the door. No sweat, he mumbled as I pushed it open. A tinny bell jingled overhead, and the hum of the store's coolers gave way to the night's chorus. Frogs croaking, crickets chirping, and a distant coyote's howl bouncing off the trees. I took a deep breath of the crisp air and crossed to my car. As I yanked the driver's door open, a voice piped up from the passenger seat. So, did you figure out where we are? I jolted, spinning around, only to feel my face heat up as Shane started cackling. Dude, were you in there so long you forgot I was here? I waved him off, sliding behind the wheel. Nah, just that kid was a pain to deal with. Shane nodded, grinning. He'd been my best friend since we were kids. 2 peas in a pod who loved nothing more than aimless late-night drives, blasting tunes, and occasionally splitting a joint. This was the first time we'd ever gotten properly lost, though. I rummaged in the bag, tossing him a root beer. Here, I pulled out the Camels, flung the rest into the back seat, and jammed the key into the ignition. The engine sputtered to life with a low growl as I ripped open the pack, slid a cigarette between my lips, and pressed the dashboard lighter. Glancing back at the store, I froze. The cashier was at the door, staring right at us. A chill prickled my neck. What's that guy's deal? Shane muttered, following my gaze. I lit the cigarette off the glowing coil, exhaled a plume of smoke, and shook my head. No clue, but it's weirding me out. Let's roll. I shifted into gear and pulled out, the tires crunching gravel as we left the station's glow behind. Shane flipped the cashier off as we went, muttering, "Jerk." I turned right, backtracking our route. "Good news is, I know where we are now," I said, handing him the map. He clicked on a little flashlight and unfolded it. "How we end up this far west of Elton?" he asked, incredulous. "Guess we drove longer than we thought," I replied, flicking ash out the cracked window. The dashboard clock read 1:50 a.m. I sighed. Great. Lisa's probably freaking out. My girlfriend of 4 years always got antsy about these drives. She'd wait up, eyes full of worry, convinced I'd plow into a deer or ditch the car somewhere. Should I text Lisa? Let her know we're good? I asked. Shane snorted. Nah, Mun. She's gotta chill. You're fine, and she doesn't need to babysit you 24/7. I smirked. It's called love, dude. You wouldn't get it. He laughed. Pass. Single life's too sweet. The road stretched out, dark and empty, the moon barely peeking through the dense canopy above. No cars for hours, just us in the night. What did you expect, Matt? You're in the middle of nowhere. I shook off the unease, grabbed a cassette from the console, and popped it in. The heavy guitars of Electric Wizard's Dope Throne thumped through the speakers. Shane hooped, sticking his head out the window to yell into the void. I grinned despite myself. Total clown. The music loosened me up, and for a few minutes it was just the road, the rhythm, and the engine's hum. The clock ticked to 2:05 a.m. Highway's close now. I reached back, snagged my root beer, and cracked it open against the wheel, taking a quick sip. My eyes flicked off the road for a second, and I nearly choked. A figure stood in the lane, caught in the headlights. Holy! I slammed the brakes, the tires shrieking as the rear fishtailed. The world blurred, and I braced for a crash. Miraculously, we stopped, skewed across the road, tire marks trailing behind us. My hands clamped the wheel, heart jackhammering. Shane killed the music. What the heck was that? He yelled, pale as a ghost. I didn't answer. I tore off my seatbelt, shoved the door open, and stumbled out, legs shaky. Standing in the headlight beams, I scanned the road, the trees. Nothing. What? I glanced back past the car's glowing taillights. Just darkness. No rustling, no sound but the idling engine. I didn't imagine that. Someone was there. Shane climbed out, storming over. You've got 10 seconds to explain before I lose it, man. I saw someone, I rasped. A guy, I think. Stepped right out. I almost hit him. Shane frowned. For real? I nodded. He pulled out his flashlight, sweeping it across the tree line. Well, he's gone now. Why'd some dude be out here anyway? It's Tanner County, I said. Plenty of oddballs around. He chuckled, but I wasn't laughing. A prickling sensation hit me, like eyes drilling into my back. I spun around. Nothing. Then it came again, from the other direction. My stomach dropped. Shane, we need to get in the car. Now. He didn't argue. We bolted for the doors, slamming them shut and locking them tight. What was that? He asked, voice tight. You know those stories, people stopping on dark roads, then getting jumped? His breath hitched. Ambush vibes? No way. Exactly. Let's go. I released the handbrake, floored it, and we peeled out. The creepy feeling faded, and I exhaled. Think we're good, I said after a few silent minutes. Shane laughed shakily. Thank goodness. I grabbed my root beer from the floor, took a swig, and chuckled. Might skip these drives for a while, man. This got to me. Shane paused, then said, Yeah, I get it. Sucks, but I get it. His tone sounded off, disappointed, maybe, but he perked up. Hey, Matt. Yeah. Shouldn't we see the highway by now? Lights or something. I squinted ahead. He was right. Highway 12's glow should have been visible. All I saw was black and trees. No way. Maybe it's farther than we thought, I said, trying to convince myself. I shifted gears, pushing the speed to 60. Minutes passed. Nothing. Then Shane pointed. Light. Hope flared, then died. It was just a lone street lamp, illuminating a bullet-riddled sign. Crescent, 2 miles. What the? Shane breathed. Crescent was an old logging ghost town, miles north of Elton. No roads connect them. We've been driving straight. I don't know, man, I said, lighting another cigarette with trembling hands. The turnoff for Crescent flashed by, a crumbling mill silhouette looming in the dark. Look, we'll hit the highway soon, I said, forcing calm. Then we'll laugh about this with Lisa. Shane patted my shoulder. You're a solid friend, Matt. The clock read 2:15 a.m. Felt like hours. Another light appeared. I held my breath, then cursed as the Crescent sign passed again. Shane tensed. The watch feeling crept back, stronger. The turnoff reappeared. Pull over, Shane said, voice quivering. I did just before it. He got out, pacing the headlights. I checked the clock, still 2:15. I tapped it. Stuck. What is this? I pulled out my phone. Same time, the eerie sensation grew. I typed a text to Lisa. Hey babe, Shane and I are fine, just lost. If I don't text in 10, check on me. Love you. I stepped out, joining Shane. You okay? No answer. Shane, you're freaking me out. Say something. He turned, pale, and pointed. Look, 50 feet away, in the trees, stood a figure, the guy from the road. My cigarette hit the ground. Back in the car, I croaked. He nodded. We scrambled in, and I gunned it, hitting 70, then 80. The light reappeared. The sign. The figure was closer now, near the road, with others behind him. Dozens. Their outlines glowed in the beams. A bloody flannel hung off the leader, decades out of style. What do we do? Shane asked, terrified. I don't know. My phone buzzed. I fumbled it open, eyes on Lisa's reply. One line. My brain locked up. What did she say? Shane pressed. I couldn't speak. Fear drowned me, not just from the loop, but something worse. Matt. His voice shifted, calm, smooth. You scared? The light flashed overhead. I looked at him. His grin stretched too wide, teeth jagged, eyes black pits. I screamed, yanking the door open as the car veered. A tree loomed. I jumped. Darkness. I woke in a hospital, head bandaged, arm in a cast, ribs aching. Lisa sopet hooking me. The doctor said I'd dodged worse, cuts, bruises, a fracture. Cops came next, asking questions. I told them most of it, skipping 2 parts. They'd heard similar tales, they said, and promised to investigate. A farmer and his kid found me. My Datsun totaled, me in a ditch. Beshinger door open. No sunny. That was 2 months ago. I've been home, healing, thinking. The police found no one else. Then an email hit my inbox from the cashier, claiming he'd seen things his dad warned him about. He'd watched us leave that night and saw it too, that grin. I can't unsee the guy's face in the headlights. Panic, not menace, waving me down. Or Shane's twisted smile. Or Lisa's text. Sweetie, who's Shane? I can't remember him. Not one moment. That night haunts me, and I'll never drive in the dark again.